Okay, right now, today we are learning Intro to 3D Figures and Nets. So a 3D figure for the face, the flat surface. So the face is a flat surface of a three-dimensional figure, including bases. A base is a special face used to name the shape. The edge is just a line segment. And it's usually a straight line. Sometimes it's not. The vertex is the corner where the edges meet. So right here, we have a vertex right here. That's an arrow, by the way. This line right here, this line segment, is called an edge. Over here on the other shape, we have a vertex. I'm shading the back of the image. The entire back would be a face. And again, we have other edges. Also, the base is right here. That's a really bad arrow, sorry. Okay. Go ahead and we're gonna cross out A. We're not gonna do that one. Now, for nets of 3D figures and prisms. A net is a two-dimensional composite figure. Now, we learned about composite figures, and for composite figures, we always break them up first. When folded into a net, you create, like when a composite figure is folded, or net, or I'm sorry, when a composite figure is folded, we get a three-dimensional figure. Now, prisms, uh, a solid prism is a figure with two parallel bases that are separated by the height of the figure. The bases are congruent. Again, prisms is a solid figure with two parallel bases separated by the height of the figure. The bases are congruent. Now, down below, use the nets below to determine the 3D figures will result from folding it, and then shade the bases of the object. Now, the first one looks to be all cubes. A cube would have it would have 6 sides that are all square. So any 2 sides could actually be considered the base. But I'm just going to mark down the center and the top, the bottom and the top of the cube. So we're going to call that cube. If you were to fold that into a shape, if you were to fold that up, it would be a cube. Over here, we have 2 bases. The 2 bases are the ones that look different than the rest of them. So right here we have a base and a base. And we'll call this because those are both rectangles, we're going to call that a rectangular prism. Make sure you can see that. This one, we have two bases. Again, the bases are the ones that look different from the rest. And that's what we name our figure after. This would be a triangular prism. Now let's flip onto the back. Pyramids. A pyramid is a solid figure with one base and triangular faces. I already spelled it wrong. Triangular faces. Triangular faces. The height of the pyramid forms a right angle. When they're talking about the height of the pyramid, that's the dotted line that's right here. Okay? Okay, so here, what we're going to do is use the next below to determine which 3D figures result from fading it, and then shade the base of the object. So we're going to start by shading the base, actually. So the base, right here, is usually what looks different. What you see here, they're all the same, so we're just going to call that a triangular pyramid. This right here looks to be like a square, so we're going to call that a square pyramid. This right here is a rectangle, so we're going to call that a rectangular pyramid. Okay. Now, use the measurements from the 3D figures to label the dimensions of the corresponding nets. So this first one is a cube. So we have to find the one that looks to be the most like the cube, right? So that's this one. Now it looks like our height is going to be 7 feet. Our length is going to be 7 feet. And our width is going to be 7 feet. The next one is a rectangular prism, and we can see this one is the rectangular prism. So our height is, we're actually going to turn it onto the side and call this height 6 feet. Our width is 2 feet. And our length is 10 feet. This over here would also be 6 feet. You only need if you are finding volume, you only need to multiply 3 of them. This right here would also be 10 feet. And this right here would also be 2 feet. You just need to make sure you know the corresponding measurements for the sides. Now this next one is a triangular prism. So we're going to label our height with 6 feet. Our length was 15 feet. our diagonal was 6.5 feet. And we would actually probably also need to label our other base, which they don't give you. You would have to use a formula to find that. I'm just going to give it to y'all. Would be 5 feet. You would need to use a formula to find this third base. But we're not going to worry about that formula right now. We're just worrying about labeling this stuff. Okay. Now this next one, the base is 12 by 8 feet. We can see we have two different heights. We have two different heights with 8 feet. Our other height would be 9 feet. And our diagonal would be 10 feet. Okay, after you finish filling out this note sets, if you need to go back and pause, please do. You have to fill this out, and you're going to turn it in. Don't turn it in yet. What you're going to do is the independent practice. The independent practice is really easy and should be finished before the end of class. It will not be homework. It is just independent practice for class today. Alrighty, I'll see y'all on Monday.